Well, hello people, and welcome to Noveria for a 2025 Christmas special. Hope you're having a wonderful day. If you're not familiar with this series, this is our vanilla snowfall build, or I guess you could also call it vanilla ice, built many years ago, all the way back in 2021. I'll leave the playlist for this full series linked down below if you'd like to come watch it, but there's been many DLCs released that aren't present in this city, including plazas and promenades, stadiums, shopping malls, skyscrapers. We did come back to rebuild an airport and indeed a mountain village in recent years, but today I'd like to return to central Navaria to do some renovations in the snow to celebrate Christmas. So, a Merry Christmas to you all, and welcome back to Navaria, everyone. Goodness gracious, everyone, is it strange to be back. Now, Vanilla Ice City. I've just been exploring and discovering some pretty horrendous jank, actually. Some strange decisions from past egg. But I think our first renovation here in the city centre today will be this mall, which is currently surrounded by lots of disgusting vanilla housing. That's all level 5. And I just think we can do something a bit better here with maybe a stadium and some of Lenovo's shopping and mall stuff, right? So, let's tear all of this out, and then we'll get started. So it's all gone, and now we can place down our first roads. So I think we'll come in with a touch of pedestrianisation, and we'll start here. Now I'd love to align this guideline here is pretty much central, isn't it? I guess we'll also get to see what all of these new assets that have arrived over the years actually look like in the snow today. There is zero difference between the various pedestrian roads, which is fine. I can make use with straight up grey, I suppose. We'll have that there. And in terms of our stadium, of course, Bad Peanuts Pack made... Well, spoiled for choice, really, didn't it, with the stadium stuff. So I think we'll go down the route of the Glass Eye Arena. One of my favourite stadiums in the game. I think it'll really serve as a bit of a medium density transition. Just as we sit back here and we're just getting a little bit higher as we move closer towards the city centre, right? To say it is very nice being back in Noveria. There's a lot of very fun builds in this city. The snowfall map really allows us to lean into some, I guess, more Arctic ideas, I suppose. Cool. But that's it. I also want to check the view from inside the stadium here at night time if we dare. Hopefully we can see the skyline. Yes, which looks wonderful from inside the stadium, doesn't it? It looks like it's snowed on the seats inside, unless the seats are just white, I guess they could be. No, we can't actually see into the arena because it's covered by snow. Of course, what else? Let's begin to bring up our roads here. Come off, no grid snapping. And I'm going to try and line this up so we can box it in pretty much perfectly. Let's just send that up to there for right now. Okay. So something that looks a little bit like that. And then we're going to find these little 45-degree corners. And I guess we'll use some tree roads for this. Super. And then let's bring on some tree upgrades into these roads too. We'd love to test out perhaps the birch in the snow. Which again, if you haven't played the snowfall map before, they are void of colour. You're essentially playing almost permanent monochromaticism, I suppose. But we can deal with that. I think here what we'll do is actually crack all of this open. Then we'll give ourselves... we do actually have snapping nodes here, which makes my life a little bit easier. Bring all these down. Then let's also go across from here too. Blend this in, of course, with a little bit of the Old Faithful. Which if you haven't seen our Noveria airport rebuild, actually, I'll head over there in a second, so you can see it. The airport terminals are actually black in a snowfall map, which makes for a very interesting visual, I think. Cool, so we can have loads of detail for now here. We do also have trams at play. Now, I'm totally not against the idea of maybe bringing in a tram pedestrian road into this. And where's it go? It turns around here, doesn't it? Yeah. So we can remove that. We'll send it off this direction. It can come down to the front of the stadium. And then we'll bring it, say, down here. Let's get lined up with our key first of all. And then next door to this stadium we can try and adapt some kind of mall configuration, I think. Cool, so tram will carry on. You can... suppose we'll give this a harsher box. Yep. And then we'll come into grid. Send that in there. We can wrap that up. And then I suppose there's no need really for it to come off the road again here. We'll just upgrade this central little strip into tram only. And then we'll readapt our tram line here. So you will come down here. Stop in front of the stadium. And we can help Noveria by reclaiming some nodes here. Super. That'll start coming down. Of course, with the pedestrian area, we also need to factor in a service point. And I wouldn't mind this be underneath our metro station here in the space we just replaced the tram turnaround with. So let's have... I think we can do something with it here. Just going to bring down this road to sit at a different angle. Something like that. And then I'll place my pedestrian area service point somewhere around there. And then we'll just concrete up our front here and develop a bit of an industrial service point just underneath the metro line here during our detail and time lapse. Hello random buildings, you all need to go away. Yes, I mentioned the airport, didn't I? Let me head over there. This video is in the playlist if you want to see the full build. But if you didn't know, all of the airport styles on a snowfall map all give you these very sleek black terminals, and which is super cool. All the different styles all look like this. So yeah, fun little fact if you weren't aware. You get totally black airports in a snowfall map. But either way, let's have a little look at our next asset that'll sit on this waterfront. Come into our unique buildings, and shopping malls is what we want. So the Mall of Marbles is a beast, but I think it's a little big for here, especially next to this arena. So I think we'll drop down into more of the traditional department and contemporary stores here. Now we do want some roads because we will obviously have quite a lot of car parking here. Why don't we see if we can configure a sort of interesting angle from here. So let's place our unique malls. We'll do 2 of them. We'll have Hamilton's. And then also the traditional department store. Which essentially works like a fusing anyway, doesn't it? They sit really nicely together. And there's probably scope for a little bit of industrial delivery detailing down here, isn't there? Okay. I'll have that there. It gives us that big box commercial vibe, doesn't it? Next door to a stadium. I'll be happy with that, I think. Let's give these guys some car parking. Now, of course, in Navaria, we never had ploppable car parks. If you want to see what it was like back in the day, if you were perhaps a latecomer to CS1, you'll see them over here. The old green cities parking technique with the 3x4 zoning. An absolute nightmare, everyone, to get that to grow in vanilla. Thankfully it's been changed now because we have ploppable car parks here. Which is a configuration we'll run over this way. Again, I don't know even how these ploppable car parks look in vanilla. Or in snow, rather. Not too bad. I guess it's pretty much the same vibe, isn't it? It's frosty. It always is. And then we'll run these in a little back-to-back configuration here. Probably have to drop down a couple of sizes occasionally. That's okay. Let's bring this road around the back of the mall as well. Probably going to pedestrianize that one, I think, since it's heading back into kind of the pedestrian arena complex. And then this road, can I hook you back into the tram line at all? We can. I think this road, as we kind of move away from the stadium, I'm going to downgrade this into tram road rather than pedestrian. That's a very small segment. I should correct that. Cool. And then this little suburban side road will plug in to this one as well. Get some more car parking up and out the front as well. There's one. Oh, that's very annoying. I'm going to correct that though. Let's reclaim that land. Finally happy with that. And then let's bring a little bit of a boreal tree line around here, shall we? Of course, we have the wild conifers over in the snowfall map. We'll do 23. Let's just have a little Christmas conifer line, which is quite dominating. I think I'm on board with it there. Just to hug the edge of our mall complex here. We'll go big Christmas trees, why it's our Christmas special, right? And I'll keep the birch lining going on all these tree roads as well. Drag that pedestrian area out. Super. So I'm liking how this is beginning to piece together here on the waterfront. And I think because we have so much suburbia around here as well, that a supermarket would also be quite welcome while we're working with King Leno's malls. If we're going for lots of parking and big chunky, I guess, event and commercial buildings, we will send this down here. Again, we'll grab one of King Leno's large grocery store right on the corner. Again, we all know how fond I am of a brand facing the main road. And Food Plus gives me that exact visual. I'm going to wrap this up totally with road. Also connecting back in there. And then I think we'll line up another pedestrian road to sit parallel with the key. No grid snapping here though. And then a bit more car parking around the edge of our shopping centre here. And then in the middle, I wouldn't mind blending in some of these new parks, just to kind of create some walkable, family-friendly green space. We'll have some playgrounds in here. Now let's get some of those plopped in so we can blend them into the frame. We'll have one of these. So, you know, perhaps when the stadium isn't in use for a match day or some sort of concert or festival, this whole waterfront can just be a little bit of kind of family recreational space almost. And we can see some people picking up our little things here now too. We should probably get the tram to stop again actually. I'm definitely outside the metro here. I think would be appropriate. And then it stops outside the stadium, doesn't it? Yeah, that'll be fine. That's okay there. And we'll also push that pedestrian area out to grab these guys too. That gives us a little detailing palette to work with here, doesn't it? We can come back here in our time lapse and add props and whatnot in here. Otherwise, a nice new stadium. We've also got this pathway to contend with as well. Let's not forget that. This is the American walking pathway, isn't it? The pathway we always forget about. This one right here, American pedestrian bridge. And you just on road lengthening angle, just come straight down here again. We can develop this nice frontage, which isn't quite central, but I can live with that. Cool. Let's go add some new Skyscrapers content creator stuff into the skyline, shall we? So welcome everyone to downtown Navaria, which I thought we'd just spend a bit of time here enjoying a brief power surge. Everyone's okay though, I'm back up and running. But the skyline around here in the road hierarchy is probably some of the most interesting we've developed over the years together playing CS. Really cute zoo over here as well. Monorail in the zoo. This place. But the skyline itself, I think, is one of the more discreet, one of the more tasteful ones we've made. It's not too over the top, is it? I think today we can have some fun. I think I'll actually keep the nighttime views on for this bit. It's a bit more, there's a bit more colour with the yellow of the light, thankfully. And so of course, the Skyscrapers content creator pack, one we all absolutely adore, has arrived. And I think we'll just move through some of our smaller, more tasteful towers. Replacing some of the zoning around here indeed. So how about this block here, right by a Metro Plaza? Looks like we can squeeze in the Marshalltown Tower. If there's any zoning there, I want to remove that. I think we'll just run a little pathway alongside it. That'll just give us some benches and stuff at the foot of the tower. So it settles in very nicely. I've actually never seen these skyscraper assets in snowfall before. Get some little snowbanks on the windows there. But a nice addition, I think, to the skyline of Noveria, that one, isn't it? And I don't want to really dominate Peatnow Street, because I think that's such the distinctive visual of Novaria's skyline, isn't it? There we have the Catalina's Norte Tower here, which I wouldn't mind finding a spot around here. How about in there? And then if you regrow, that's high density commercial. There we go, something's coming back. That'll be fine. Super, another nice little compliment to our skyline there, isn't it? See what else we have to play with here. Wouldn't mind one of these wide boys in. We do have a tram depot here, but in all honesty, is this particularly needed? So there's 26 trams in use, so it very well could be needed. Let me just check if these tram lines are hooked into another depot anywhere. There's no other tram depot this side of the river, is there? There's another one over here. And another one on the European side. Well, there's some buildings down here that are kind of that same theme. So I reckon we can probably sit some fits, isn't it? There we go. Because that's essentially the same visual we had with those repetitive vanilla assets. Get kind of the wide, girthy tower in. It's going to sit very nicely by the canal here as well, isn't it? Hello trams, there they go. Really do enjoy Novaria's downtown. A lot of fun in here. It's quite weird in some places, but in others it is pretty fun. And how about a little plazas and promenades? Fountain Plaza down here, which will basically sit and fit. And then I think we'll complement that with some Palavan Pine. I think so. Not something we have access to in Ilium these days, of course. I'll sit very nicely on it. That's a really nice plaza configuration, actually. Those thick wide boy towers work very nicely with the fountain plazas down at the bottom of them. Lovely. And again, that'll sit. Really, not changing it too much either, because it's just sort of differences. I think I can probably provide some more height over here. These services, there's plenty of services around the downtown. I'm not overly precious about those ones in particular. Get rid of the random death care as well. Certainly something else here. Do we want to push on the realm of a taller building? Tower 41 or Tower 69? I think maybe we'll go with the Gallerstone. As long as it's not taller than Peatnow Street, I think I can get away with it. And we can probably adjust our road hierarchy here slightly as well. Looks like we've got some opportunities to feed back to the arterial. There, goodness gracious. What is that? Absolutely not, I don't think. This is a slightly awkward junction here. We could actually just sever that connection. It's not really needed. There we go, that'll be fine. That way we don't have two nodes too close together here. And we'll zone in a bit more high density here as well. Wow, we've got the 4 deep opportunity to play with. We've got some nice assets surrounding them all. Super, I'm liking these. Reckon we can probably justify a couple of taller buildings in this little spot here by the transit hub, can't we? I'd actually love to bring in the Hearts of Korea asset here. Looks like it'll fit as well. Of course, Hearts of Korea had not released either when Navaria was being built. And it sits and fits in the middle too. Oh, isn't that a wonderful compliment to the Glassbox train station and just the skyline overall, right? What a wonderful placement. I'd say some of the snowfall night visuals I think are probably better than the regular ones. Really nice. I love that there. Trains and metro coming into Central Station too. Of course, to the new Jangbysoft building. Let's also give this some fancy pathway as well. And we'll wrap this up in the grid around it. And then over here as well, we've just got quite a lot of random horrible residential towers here. I wonder how this would look in Noveria, actually. The Arco Castle apartment complex is a super dominant building. But it's quite kind of blue and icy, isn't it? I think it's almost built for Noveria. Let's get rid of these guys. And that elementary school as well. And again, it very nearly sits. What position do I want this in? I think I'll have it here, but we'll bring in perhaps a nice tree road. I think to hold it, no residential zone in here either. And then we'll form up this little block and design out the front. I mean, first of all, do we like the towers? I think it's certainly something a bit more impressive arriving into the central station, isn't it? Look at that. That looks gorgeous. I love this asset in Snowfall. I think I could do another Snowfall map again. I would just have to play it in permanent nighttime. I think is how I would probably enjoy it. Let's bring in some more plazas as well. We'll have one tucked into each corner. And I think we'll develop a bit more of a fancier path network snapped into the grid around these. Bring it up all parallel. That's fine. Let me delete that one. Back to dealing with vanilla collisions. There we go. Just had to downgrade that road. We just needed a spare tile extra. And then maybe a nicer fountain, anything that'd fit here. Of course not. Paradox Plaza will go in. And then we'll give it some more trees as well. Let's do... Guess the palms look super weird in snow, don't they? Go for some live oaks. And then we can just detail. I mean, you lose all decal texture there, don't you, on those plazas? They are just all white. So you can probably see why it's quite hard to play these cities long term, because they're pretty brutal, aren't they? They are. But in terms of Skyline editions, I think I'm pretty happy with them. Like I said, I don't want to overdo it. But just to have the visual of some newer towers now available for Noveria's old Skyline. Like I said, this approach into the city here might be our thumbnail today. Let me wait for a train. Oh, that's 3 turn up at once. Wasn't that? Isn't that fate? Amazing. Look at that, everyone. Special moment. Really love that visual there. Super. With that done, we also have some gross residential down here, which I think is where I'd like to introduce and test out a little bit of emerging downtowns for Navaria. Although we actually did just mention emerging downtowns, now I'm over here, I realised I installed a bit of a kind of tenement block social housing vibe here by the tracks. So I think to carry on leaning into that vibe, I think perhaps a Brooklyn and Queens introduction might be a touch better for this particular instance. This shouldn't have a district here. Yeah, we can just paint a new one out. Just a little area to get rid of this awkward vanilla housing we had here. We'll set it to Brooklyn and Queens. And then we'll bring in our grid to... We do have a couplet system here, which I honestly have zero recollection of ever installing that. Has that always been there? Must have been. Let's bring this up to the tracks as well. And Brooklyn and Queens, of course. Very familiar with it at this stage. Bring that down and across, and then you can come up to there. And then we'll get a big mass zoning of this. These towers, yeah, you'll rezone. The ones that aren't historical anyway. Get rid of this, see what I mean? Like, there's nasty assets in Navaria if you look too closely. I reckon I do like some of these houses, I keep those ones there, and the district style there. Those vanilla assets are actually quite tasty. And that was bringing some of those new tourism parks too. I haven't seen these in Snowfall either. Do 2 of them here in the centre. As you would expect. They're completely white. Maybe we've already got the gym. Not a football garden. A football goal, I suppose. Not a football garden. Have another little one here too. Let's do one of those. You can't even see the pond, can you? I actually didn't even check the other pond by the stadium, did I? When we placed that. I'm lost. Here we go. Yeah, this is, this is totally frozen as well. Of course, which just always makes sense. Right? Thermodynamics, etc. So we have this big district going here. Let's actually check on some education demands. Everyone should be pretty good in Navaria. Yeah. Let's bring in a public library though. All the red brick infrastructure always complements Brooklyn and Queens so well, doesn't it? We did remove some emergency services as well. So we'll have the old brick sort of police station in. And the med clinic as well. Which we'll have here. And we can just detail some little suburban pathways to detail this area. Wonder if our airport aprons will collide with the library. No, we're okay. We'll place those there. And tactically, don't want them everywhere. I think maybe a little plaza of sorts. Perhaps made up of new plazas and promenades assets. We'll have our little snowy moon statue. With some potentially snowy benches. Yeah, there you go. Show plazas and promenades benches in the snowfall theme. And then I wouldn't mind a little table as well. We have to apologise if you can hear that snoring. That's currently Coco behind me. I'm not sure if the mic's picking that up. I doubt it is. A couple of bins in here. Maybe a place to bring a library book if it's nice outside. Not that it ever is in Noveria. This constant permafrost. These guys are well above the Arctic Circle, aren't they? Always nice to get a look at some props in a new theme, isn't it? Never connected that train line in either. Some of the train police won't be happy with this. So sorry, train police. Noveria might not be a good series for the train police to rewatch if you haven't seen it. But our Brooklyn and Queens actually looks really great in the snow, doesn't it? That's such a vibe. That's such a New York vibe, that, isn't it? Especially if we stick that skyline in the background. Possibly even at night time. Yeah, fantastic. Look at that metro gradient there. That's so steep. Oops. What's that? I love that. Freezing tenement blocks just on the outskirts of the city centre. Fantastic vibe, right by the tracks as well. Just fantastic. Otherwise, let's detail out what we've got. Our stadium, our new Brooklyn and Queens area. And I may even just scan over the skyline once more to see if there's any more towers we can squeeze in from the Skyscrapers pack. But let's detail our Navaria Christmas special. And then we'll be right back. Alright guys, let's have a little Christmas detailing review, shall we, of Noveria's latest renovations. I'm going to do it at night time because the white is removing my ability to see. It's giving me a headache, so we're going to do it at night. Over here, we placed the Sahara monument from the Africa pack, just as a bit of a touch more homage to centralization. It's almost a little mirror image of Peak 15 actually, isn't it, all the way up there on the mountain. Which is really fun, really like that. Some fountain plazas either side of it, and then a centralization of a camp, or I think this is a amusement park pathway. Elevated to connect people to the side of the river. There's landscaping, went with these taller rows of trees, almost though it is kind of a continual hedgerow. This is actually the coloured tree. You probably couldn't do this in anything out of snowfall. I think because it would just be too colourful, but here it kind of, just because they're dead, it kind of forms like a thicker hedgerow almost in a line like this, so I really like that actually. Drew that in just in the triangles around the edge of the stadium to respect some symmetry. There's a hotel and a pool also down here too, with a little delivery area at the back, which is quite dark, but you can get the vibe behind the Hamilton's department store here, which is a great little vanilla fusion actually, just on a corner like that. And of course our brand exposed up to the road here too, with that wonderful Navarian mountain range behind it. It's so nice to be back in this map. I've smiled a lot today recording this. It's been fun. You can see the coven up there on top of the mountain too. And don't forget, if you want to come see this city be built, which is pretty massive, there's a lot in Navaria. And it's had a few specials as well. Definitely come check it out. Probably one of my favourite builds we did. There is some jank, but there's some good ideas here too. Away from the mall and the shopping complex, we have the detailed front of the stadium, which has benches, statues, food vans, bins, pathways back to cafes, and parks and ponds, which is turning to be quite the poetic detailing review, isn't it? Unintentionally, I promise you. 3 shops all selling cities too, which the joke just writes itself sometimes, doesn't it? So we'll just leave that there. And then some more commercial before this arterial heads back down, of course, to Minot Square, which will take some time just to glance back over Noveria. I'm sure if you've made it to this point in a Noveria Christmas special, you probably care about the city. So we'll show some places off. Of course, Minot Town Square by the highway here, which is the style post Palin, isn't it? I think that we came to settle on. That would then go on to be refined again in Ilos and Nubiok, of course, before I think it really came to its true fruition in Orchid Bay. But Nubiok is pretty nice, to be fair, as well. I think that undersells Nubiok a little bit. And then our supermarket on the corner, with appropriate parking and paths back to all this recreational green space that just surrounds the stadium. And it just sits really nicely in the waterfront, doesn't it? Such a dominant build. We also have our little, this is super dark over here. I'll go to early morning at least, so it's not as blinding. Yeah, the little detailed service point here, which looks wonderful, doesn't it? Especially as the metro train passes over the top of it. A couple of entrances here, use some of the security booths to indicate that. And again, what a difference Find It makes to the vanilla detail and experience, right? And especially those airport aprons too. Like, you know, there's none of this sort of space across anywhere in Noveria, purely because we didn't have the airport apron. Which I think allows for some much more interesting spaces to develop in the unmodded game, doesn't it? I really like how that sits next to and underneath the metro. Probably something I'll take inspiration for Ilium, I imagine, at some point. Although we have just done something similar in a monorail station there. So that's our little renovation stadium. And then across the way here, we'll stumble across our Brooklyn and Queens district, which has fence all against the edge of this massive rail trench. And then we have a library, more pathways back to the stairs on the back of the building, with more of that library space. Available to be enjoyed in the shadow of these tenement blocks, with trees next to police stations. And it's such a bleak existence in Noveria, isn't it? There's something about this city, I can't really quite describe it. It has, I think, an atmosphere to it that I don't think any of the other cities have. Let me know if you can help me explore that thought process further in the comments. Maybe it is purely just a theme thing. Some props between houses here just to indicate a little communal play space for people living in the area. And then simple suburban detailing back to the rest of downtown Noveria. As Brooklyn and Queens very much works in the snowfall theme, doesn't it? Just love how all this sits. Especially with the rail out front. And then our new tower additions, which will definitely check out the nighttime views in the downtown. Look at that. Right, isn't it just such a vibe? I just love it. So cool. And all these new towers and buildings from the DLCs that have come in the years since Noveria are just at home here, aren't they? Particularly love this one. Really nice, just partners so well. Might remember this for Ilium actually, that these buildings go very nicely together. But a huge fan of it, of course. And that view right there. With the train station, all the trains. And of course we have Mehmet Bariskan Square. A shout out and happy Christmas indeed to Mehmet, one of our patrons and YouTube members. With all these new towers here. We got kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 7 of them in, didn't we? And I think they're very tasteful additions to what is one of my favourite skylines. Really nice, tasteful use. Quite easy to overdo skyscrapers, I think, sometimes. But, again, it's at home, isn't it? Welcome to Navaria Skyscrapers DLC. Happy with that. Honestly, I've forgotten a lot of this city as well, you know, like these little detailing bits here with the tram stops and the tiles. Up to the tram networks here. So there is some jank in the video productions, probably not incredible, but there is some good ideas, I think, to be taken from Noveria, if indeed you would like yet even more City Skylines inspiration from the channel. But otherwise, I will leave it there. Thank you so much if you made it to this point, and indeed for watching the channel this year. This year has been absolutely incredible for me. I bought a house from my job as a YouTuber, which all comes from your support. So for watching, for liking, for donating, for simply whatever you do to interact with my videos, it's just so welcome. You put me in such a unique position, and I'm just eternally grateful. I think it's always a very reflective time of year for me when we get to the end of the year, and 2025 has been quite dramatic. So thank you for the support and all the love on Yokeley. Of course, we've welcomed to the channel this year. Of course, Rannoch finished, and then Ilium took its place. Both of those series are still powering along and will do well into 2026. And I guess we'll see what awaits the channel next year. There's some pretty interesting games that I'm excited for. Transport Fever 3, City State 3, Total War Medieval 3, and Total War 40k. I'm kind of massively interested in. I'm a huge strategy game player. And I think next year I would really like to maybe diversify my content across more strategy and other things that I enjoy alongside our preferred simulation vibe. We'll see. Anyway, definitely expect, I think, some Total War Medieval 3 whenever that releases. But we're probably quite a long way from that. Either way, I look forward to hopefully what will be another tremendously exciting year together as we power toward our 7th year of building Cities Skyline cities together. So thank you from not Egg as a YouTuber, but from me as a person for the position you put me in by watching and supporting these videos year after year after year. Merry Christmas to you all. I hope you all have a wonderful time with whatever you have planned, and I will see you next year.